Now, have you ever bought a phone months after all the hype has died down and then wonder if you've missed the golden window or you actually dodged a bullet? Well, that's exactly what happened with the Galaxy S25 Plus. I didn't jump on the launch buzz, I picked it up 5 months later, and what I found kind of surprised me because some things about this phone are genuinely better than I expected, but there's also some stuff that no one really talks about that might make you think twice before buying it now. So if you're still on the fence about this phone or you're just curious as to how it's aged over time, don't worry. I will be showing you guys how I was very wrong for sleeping on this phone for so long. Now, before I get into why the S25 Plus has given me a pretty good experience, I want you guys to know that no phone is perfect, and I also want to give you guys some negatives that I've dealt with and just some things that I really don't like about it. Now, let's start with the camera because this one drove me a little crazy. On paper, it looks great. You've got a solid main sensor, ultra wide, and a decent telephoto. But when it comes to shooting video, the ISO jumps around while you're filming and you can see the brightness go up and down. Every time I hit record, I watched how the brightness randomly shifts when the lighting even changes slightly. It's super distracting and it completely ruins the look of your footage. And I first noticed this issue on the regular S25 and I was hoping the Plus model wouldn't have the issue, but nope. And it's especially frustrating if you're someone who likes to vlog or shoot content. You'll be in the middle of a clip and then bam, the exposure pulses and now your shot looks like it's flickering. It really just takes the polish out of what could have been a really clean video. Then there's the price. This phone launched around 1,000 bucks, and I hate to say it, but I don't think it justifies that price anymore. Because the truth is, we've got phones like the OnePlus 13 now. This thing is around 900 bucks, and it's not just cheaper, but it's better in a lot of ways. Smoother software, better battery life, and you can do all the things that the S25 Plus can do while being $100 cheaper. Even the camera system on the S25 Plus, while decent, starts to feel a bit average when you compare it to the competition. The Pixel 9 Pro XL absolutely crushes it when it comes to photos, and the iPhone 16 Pro is still the gold standard when it comes to color accuracy and video reliability. So when you stack them side by side in that $900 to $1,000 price range, the S25 Plus kind of becomes the weakest link. It's not bad, it's just that everything around it is getting better and faster. But alright, let's get into the reason why I bought the Galaxy S25 Plus 5 months after its release. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, at first, I wasn't planning on buying the S25 Plus at all. When it launched, I remember thinking, okay, cool, but it's basically just the S24 Plus with a new name and maybe a few spec tweaks. Nothing about it really screamed try me, and I was already deep into testing other flagships, and this one kind of flew under my radar. But that's actually why I ended up buying it 5 months later. I was intrigued and I wanted to get my hands on it because I wanted to find out if it's just underrated or if it actually deserves the little attention that it's getting. The S25 Ultra got all of the spotlight and the base model got the usual coverage, but the S25 Plus barely a whisper. Then I saw it pop up in an ad and that sealed it. I figured, alright, if this thing is secretly amazing, I've gotta find out for myself. And that brings us here. 5 months later, real world testing, and finally ready to break down whether the S25 Plus is a hidden gem or just forgettable for a reason. Now alright, let's talk design because the S25 Plus has that classic Samsung polish, but with a few things that really stood out once I started using it daily. Now the S25 Plus is a really slim phone and the frame has this boxy yet rounded vibe going on. It's flat on the sides but not sharp, so it's actually really comfortable to hold even without a case, and I've carried this around bare a few times and never really felt like it was going to slip out of my hand. And as far as materials, it's got this matte finish all around, and honestly it feels great. Premium without being slippery, and it does pick up some fingerprints, but nowhere near as bad as the glossy glass backs that we used to see. And the good thing is, because of the matte texture, the smudges don't look as gross or obvious, so unless you're shining a flashlight on it, you probably won't care. Durability wise, it's rocking Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2, so you're getting some solid drop resistance here. And to be fair, mine is still pretty new, so I haven't had any real scratches yet, but the build definitely feels tough enough for daily life. No creaks, no flex, and nothing cheap. The buttons feel great, clicky, tactile, and exactly how you want them, and they've got just the right amount of resistance. And the phone itself is surprisingly light. It weighs around 190 grams, which is actually lighter than the S24 Plus by a few grams. Usually, I'm always rocking pants with deeper pockets, and the S25 Plus fit just fine. It does feel a little bit large, but it's not bulky. It's more like that sweet spot where it's big enough for immersive content, but not so massive to the point where it starts feeling awkward to carry around. So overall, the build quality is solid, light, slim, comfy to hold, and premium all across the board. But okay, let's talk about display because Samsung is known for making some of the best panels in the game, and the S25 Plus definitely delivers. First off, brightness. I've taken this thing outside on bright sunny days and I can still see everything very clearly. Samsung's hitting close to 2600 nits at peak brightness. Even in direct sunlight, I had no trouble checking notifications, scrolling, or watching videos, no squinting, and no hand over the screen tricks. Colors are super vibrant, as expected from a Samsung panel, but they don't really feel overly saturated unless you go looking for it. Watching HDR content on YouTube or Netflix looks fantastic. Deep blacks, bright highlights, and at 1440p resolution really helps keep everything crisp. Plus the bezels are super slim, and its edge-to-edge immersion, along with the 120Hz refresh rate that is also very smooth. Scrolling through Instagram, jumping between apps, even like gaming, it's all buttery. But what really surprised me was how good the touch response is. It's super responsive without feeling overly sensitive. And other than that, I have no issues with screen dimming or burn-in so far. It's been consistent, bright, and honestly one of the best screens that I've used in 2025. Not dramatically better than last year's, but it's still top tier when compared to the competition. Now getting into performance, this is where the S25 Plus really shines, but not without a few quirks. In day-to-day usage, this thing flies. Like, I've thrown everything at this phone: Instagram, YouTube, Gmail, YouTube Music, and Samsung Internet with 10 plus tabs open, and it hasn't slowed down once. Animation stays smooth, app switching is instant, and I never ran into any weird stutters or freezing. And Samsung's optimization on One UI paired with the Snapdragon chip has been super clean on the S25 Plus. Gaming wise, it handled everything that I throw at it: Genshin Impact, Apex Legends, Call of Duty Mobile, you name it. And all of my games ran at high settings and stayed smooth even during chaotic combat. And for Call of Duty Mobile, once you're actually in the game, it performs beautifully, no frame drops and no lag. But here's the thing, it does get hot at times. I noticed it mostly when booting up games or when Call of Duty Mobile was downloading multiplayer maps in the background. That moment when it's doing a bunch of stuff at once, it definitely heated up noticeably. Not scalding, but definitely warmer than I'd like. And the weird part about this phone is that once I actually got into the match, it cooled down again and stayed pretty stable. Never thermal throttled or slowed down gameplay, so the performance stays solid. But yeah, heat spikes are definitely something that you should be aware of. Also, I didn't run a bunch of synthetic benchmarks because honestly, that's not how most people use their phones, but based on real world usage, the chip is still going strong. And in my opinion, it's right up there with any of the other flagship phones that I've tested in 2025. Now, alright. Battery life. This is one of the things that really makes or breaks a phone for a lot of people, and the S25 Plus holds up really well, but it's not perfect. I get around 5.5 to 6 hours of screen time, which is moderate use for me. On an average day, starting at 8 a.m., unplugged at 100%, I usually end my day around 10 p.m. with about 20 to 25% left, and that includes a mix of Wi-Fi and mobile data, a couple of hours of YouTube, some social scrolling, like gaming, emails, and taking a few photos here and there. And where it struggles a little is when you're on gaming data for long stretches. Like if I'm out all day with no Wi-Fi, the battery definitely drains faster. I've also noticed some idle drain overnight. They can drop about 4 to 6% just sitting untouched, especially if background apps are still doing their thing. Now for charging, this phone supports 45 watt fast charging, and in my real world tests, I went from 0 to 100 in about 53 minutes. Not record breaking, but still pretty respectable. For comparison, the OnePlus 13 can fully charge in under 40 minutes, which is insane. But on the other end, the iPhone 16 Pro takes over an hour easily. So the S25 Plus lands in that sweet middle ground. Fast enough to get you topped up quickly, but not quite plug it in for 15 minutes and go all day kind of speed. Now getting into camera, honestly, it's been better than I expected, but there are still a few catches. The main sensor on the S25 Plus is solid. It delivers sharp, detailed shots and good lighting, along with Samsung's signature punchy colors, and it definitely has that portrait-ready look, especially in daylight. Skin tones can lean a little bit warm at times, but the shots are clean and consistent. Ultra-wide, it is decent, not really amazing. There's a little softness towards the edges, which you'll notice if you're pixel peeping, but for group shots and scenery, it does get the job done. The zoom lens also performs really well. I tested up to 3x, which is the best quality for me and the most usable. Anything beyond that starts to look a little muddy, but that's kind of expected in this range. Now when it comes to video, again, this is where things get a little frustrating. The footage looks good overall, sharp, colorful, and stable, but like I mentioned earlier, there's still this weird ISO shifting issue when recording. So overall, the S25 Plus camera setup is good, it's reliable, easy to use, and it can deliver nice results in most situations. But when you stack it up against other phones in the $900 to $1,000 price range like the Pixel 9 Pro XL or the iPhone 16 Pro, you can kind of tell where Samsung cut a few corners, especially if it's not the S25 Ultra. Again, it's not bad, but it's not the strongest link. Now moving up to software, this is where Samsung has come a long way, but there's still room to grow. Running One UI 7.1, the Galaxy S25 Plus feels smooth overall, animations are quick, app switching is clean, and I didn't run into any major bugs, no freezing, no weird glitches, just a polished, mature version of what Samsung's been building for the past few years. You boot this phone up and boom, Samsung Internet, Samsung Health, and like 5 other apps that you probably didn't ask for, but I can't really be too mad this is a Samsung phone. And because I mainly use Google stuff, I ended up spending the first 15 minutes uninstalling or disabling a bunch of stuff that I didn't really need. Customization is great, icon packs, always on display tweaks, system color accents. You can really make this phone feel really personal. And some of the AI features that I like are very useful, like where you can erase stuff from the background of a photo. That works surprisingly well, especially if you're editing something quickly for socials. And I've also been using Google Gemini for voice replies, email, and quick answers, and it's genuinely handy. And I really enjoy the fact that, again, when it comes to freedom, Samsung allows you to use other apps. And in terms of longevity, the S25 Plus is amazing. You're getting 7 years of security and OS updates, and that means that this phone will stay up to date until about 2032, which is pretty impressive. So overall, One UI is definitely more refined now. You'll still have to do some cleaning up when you first get the phone if you don't prefer Samsung apps, but once it's set up, it's a smooth, powerful experience with some actually useful AI sprinkled in. So 5 months after its release, who's the Galaxy S25 Plus actually for? Well, if you're someone who wants a phone that nails the basics, beautiful display, strong performance, and a solid battery life, this is a reliable option. It's fast, it looks great, and with One UI finally feeling smooth and stable, it's a nice day-to-day experience. But if cameras matter to you a lot, especially for video, or you're hunting for the absolute best value at this price point, I'd honestly look elsewhere. Phones like the OnePlus 13 gives you more power, better charging, and cleaner software for less money. And if the camera is your top priority, the Pixel 9 Pro XL and iPhone 16 Pro are just in another league. And at its current price, hovering around $850 to $900, I would say that on sale, it's not a bad buy. And it's also a phone that can give you almost everything that you need. But this late into the cycle, I would say that the S25 Plus is definitely where it should be at. If they lowered the price, then I would consider it underrated. But with it being $1,000 plus tax, it's not a shocker that it didn't make any noise in the smartphone market. Peace.